It's been a week since Baldur's Gate 3 has come out, and during that time I have clocked a number of hours into the game. I thought it would be appropriate to give my first thoughts per se, but a week after playing the game, after I've had a little bit more experience playing it and gotten used to the mechanics of the game. So in this video I'll explore some of the things that I like, dislike, and basically what it's all about, so that I can inform your purchasing decisions if you're still on the fence about this game. One of the big things about Baldur's Gate 3 is that it's a massive game, not only in actual size, but a massive game in the sense of choices, decisions, destinations, characters, and just the world in general. Baldur's Gate 3 has a plethora of choices just in character creation that inform and change the world outside. Your background, your race, and class all have different dialogue choices, and they all can affect how NPCs react to you.
I made no such oath, and I will not be held responsible for these people.
If you play classes like a sorcerer or a wizard, you might have things in common with other NPCs or have different dialogue options and ways to handle situations. In general, this makes it where every playthrough can be unique.
Witnesses noticed red dragon marching at rear.
You can start over as many times as you want, and I'm pretty sure it's going to take you a long time to see everything that there is to see. Speaking on that, there is so much dialogue and interaction in the world. You can literally click on just about anybody in the world and talk to them.
Something's off. This creature isn't what it appears to be.
It might not be like a super long conversation, but you might be surprised by some of the people you'll stumble across. It really does feel like a living and breathing world as you go around it. Not only that, there are so many little spots for you to look around at and interact with.
What the? Oh, Birdie just flew away!
Something else about this game is it's very much based on dice rolling, similar to how you do with D&D. You will see this D20 come up multiple times anytime you're trying to pass something, whether it be a strength check, a charisma check, you're trying to persuade someone, decept someone, or you're trying to make an insight against someone. You will roll this D20 die. I like the aspect of it feels like you're actually really rolling the dice. You can also add bonuses to it, and at times you can also re-roll the die if you have inspiration, which again goes back to your background. If you do things that are related in your background, you can get inspired and use that to re-roll a die in the game. It feels very satisfying to get a natural 20 when it rolls up, but it also feels terrible to get a nat 1. A nat 1 will instantly fail you at whatever you're doing. Even if it's only a 5, you've got a meter hit, and you have enough bonuses to make up for it. If you roll a natural 1, you fail no matter what. The world is open world. You can explore until the world gives out, but it feels like that is so far away. There are so many things to pick up, to loot, to talk to, and do. If you want to spend hours just roaming the wilderness before you even go to the first mission, you can do that. It makes it easy to miss things, and then on your second way around you find something you didn't know was there before. This is great. It makes the world feel real. It makes it feel alive, and again adds to that replayability. Another thing about Baldur's Gate is it has a huge spell list. Any of the spell casting classes get to pick their spells and replace them at level ups, and there are so many to choose from. You have so much customization when it comes to leveling up. Granted, some classes at the very beginning might not have a lot that you can do with their level up, but as you get further along in that tree, there are more and more things you can pick from. Even when you get further, you can start picking feats or upping people's ability scores. On a more mechanical side of the game, the graphics, the voice acting, and the story is very much enjoyable. The people and the world look beautiful. The voice acting is amazing. There are so many different voices that I can't pinpoint people doing the same one, even though there might be.
It's quite a sight. The stars, I mean. I could take or leave your chin.
And the story automatically gets you hooked. You have a reason, you have stakes to continue on this campaign. Not only that, the companions. You have a variety of companions, their personalities all differing from one another, and they all have their own individual goals that are not always explicitly tied to you, making them feel more real and that everybody else has real problems as well. There's a lot of loot in Baldur's Gate 3. Some of it is just rags, plates, and forks, but you can sell that stuff. Other things are magical items that you'll find that can help your characters, help the story along. As far as combat in Baldur's Gate 3, I know there was a lot of talk about how well turn-based combat would do. Other games have done it successfully, but I still think it's one of those things that people shy away from sometimes. This has been my first experience with a turn-based combat game, and I am loving it. The turn-based combat in Baldur's Gate 3 is very smooth and it's very quick. I love that it doesn't need to take multiple hours like it can in an actual D&D campaign. Characters that you do not have control over take their own actions and do their own things, and they do it with speed. Combat is also not set in stone. You can do a multitude of different actions and solve these problems too. There are so many ways that you can do combat that it really does feel like a D&D campaign where the player just threw something at the DM and had to work with it. Also, combat's not set in stone. You might have a time where it's just not going right and they're rolling really well and you're rolling really bad. It is all up to the fate of the dice. On the flip side of all of these great things I've talked about Baldur's Gate 3, I could see how a number of them could be negative. Such as Baldur's Gate 3, at least in my experience so far, a week into playing the game, it's not very structured. The most structure you have is the very first mission, escaping the Nautiloid. Other than that, as I said before, it's open world. You can do whatever you want, go wherever you want. And nothing is really preventing you from doing anything that you want to do. This is great for people who like open world, who like to take detours, but if somebody really likes the structure of where to go, do this, then do that, this might not be the game for you if you really are craving that, because there is not a lot of it in Baldur's Gate 3. For somebody who really doesn't like dialogue, this also might not be the game for you. Baldur's Gate, again, has a lot of dialogue. A lot of it you can skip, but I feel like the dialogue is really vital to the game. So it's one of those reasons that if you don't like a lot of dialogue, I might not recommend this game for you, because the dialogue adds a lot of story. There's a lot that you can learn from it. But I will say the one caveat with dialogue is anytime you're telling a party member to leave the group, they gotta fuss about it for about 2 times.
Chook, you believe you can survive without me? As you say, do not keep me waiting.
Are you sure? The blade stands at the ready. And just when things were warming up.
With all of this, I will also say Baldur's Gate 3 can be very overwhelming. I even found it overwhelming coming into the game. I found myself having to get used to the turn-based style combat, knowing what I could and couldn't do, and what was working and what was not. There's no explicit way the game tells you to play or how to use your character, but it's one thing I've learned playing more in the game, that there are certain spells, there are certain moves and methods that work best at better situations. This can take a number of hours to get used to, and for somebody walking into the game the first time, they might not know how to use these things effectively, and they might be dying a lot or might find themselves frustrated. So it's one of those things that I feel like Baldur's Gate has a steep learning curve for somebody who's not familiar. Along with that, I had mentioned a big spell list. As much as this is great for customization, for somebody who doesn't know any of this and is just going into it blind, it can be super overwhelming having that many spells and feeling like you might not make the right choice. For classes such as wizards or clerics, they can swap spells out anytime that they please. But for other casting classes, such as a sorcerer or warlock, you are stuck with those spells until you get another level up and you can replace a spell. So this might seem like a daunting task and scary for some people playing, thinking they might make the wrong decision because they don't fully understand them. Also, combat can feel foreign to you if you've never played a turn-based before. You don't know what D&D is like. You might find yourself wondering what is an action, bonus action, and what all you can do during your turn. Thankfully, the game does have tutorials, and it's pretty easy to pick up once you get the hang of it, but it will take some trial and error if you want to persevere and get through it. As I said, Baldur's Gate 3 is a massive game. There are so many choices and options that might overwhelm some people, just in dialogue alone, that people might think there are so many things that they can do, and they don't want to make those choices and options, and that's totally fine. It's not a game for everyone. I'm saying none of this to scare you or ward you off of playing Baldur's Gate 3. I think it's a great game. I think these are just things that you need to know going into this game or making this purchasing decision. That it's a lot. That's the biggest thing, is that I'm saying it's a massive game because there's just so much going on in the game. In my opinion, I love Baldur's Gate 3. I think it's worth every single penny I paid for the game. It's an amazing game. It's got so much to do, so much life in it. You can really tell that the creators of the game and the developers spent their time and understood what they were doing. I think Baldur's Gate 3 is a great game, and I love that it's tied directly to D&D without it having to be for D&D players. I think not only is this going to get more people into D&D, it's going to show D&D in a different light than it is all of these people sitting around the table, maybe in the basement, that we've known from Stranger Things or even earlier works of media. This is showing D&D in a mainstream platform. In general, Baldur's Gate 3 feels like a fully released game, and I don't feel like I'm having to put up things that I don't like within it. Yeah, combat might be a little hard. Yeah, I might not like some choices, and I might have a glitch here or there. But generally, it feels worked on, loved, and fully released, and that's all I've been asking for. I hope this has been informative. I hope you gained some knowledge from this video, and I hope that some of you will join me in Baldur's Gate 3.
You don't have to be here for this.
Please, don't mind me. I'll just watch.